Today, we're talking about dating after divorce. Are you recently divorced and you're just trying to figure out a way to get back into the dating world? Stick around, I've got some tips, tricks, and things that you need to look out for. We're going to dive right in. This is Wholesome Dating. I'm Matty Tabs. Let's just dive right in. Hey guys, I'm just going to dive right into a massive hot take. Now, you may not agree with me, but I'm going to explain myself, and if you still don't agree, then, you know what, we're just going to have to agree to disagree on this one, okay? Here's my hot take. Single parents should only date as single parents. Now, why do I think that? Look, when it comes to love, when it comes to long-term dating and relationships, it's easy, even without kids, it's easy to forget about your partner's feelings oftentimes. Now, I wholeheartedly believe when you have kids, your kids should be your priority. I don't think there's anybody out there that would disagree entirely. I'm sure there are obviously circumstances where you need to prioritize your spouse, but for the vast majority of the time, you're going to prioritize your kids. That is a good thing. I'm not saying this is a bad thing to do. It's a great thing to do for your kids. Unfortunately, it's a bad thing to do for your spouse. Now, if you share kids, then your spouse should also prioritize your children. Therefore, your list of priorities are the same. You have your kids, then your spouse, then whatever else. And you guys are on the same level with each other. So, why is it worse if one person isn't a parent? It's simple. Because if I'm dating and I don't have kids, and I'm dating a single mother, my priority is her. My top priority is her. It'll never be her kids because they're not mine. Maybe in 5, 10, 15 years down the road, if I raise them like they're my own children, sure, maybe eventually they'll get there. But if the bio father is in the picture, then you'll never get there, no matter what. Because the bio father, especially if he's an active father, will always be the one who prioritizes the children and the one that they will run to when things go down. Unless there's some sort of, neglectful parent. I'm just saying in general, not saying specifics or you specifically, viewer. So what happens is that the single parent prioritizes on the top rank their children as they should. The person without the kids will prioritize their partner on the first rank as they should. But because of that imbalance, there's always going to be tension. The person who doesn't have kids is always going to have, you can say it's not possible, but there's always going to be a little bit of either resentment, jealousy, whatever you want to call it. They're always going to know they're not the top priority, especially when their needs aren't being met and the children's needs are being met. Now, because of the single mother is meeting those needs of the children and the partner is meeting the needs of the single mother, nobody is meeting the needs of the person without kids. Because the parent is putting their attention towards the kid, the partner is putting the attention towards the parent, and the partner has nobody giving them attention. Now, sure, there are some parents out there that can do it all, but it's rare. Nobody has that kind of energy. Nobody has that kind of willpower and ability to multitask in that amount of prioritizations. I'm sure there are a handful of women out there or men that are able to do this, but it's extremely rare. We only have a certain amount of attention, a certain amount of ability to give of ourselves to people. And when a person who doesn't have kids doesn't feel the same level of investment, they're gonna feel a certain type of way about it. That's why I think single parents should date each other. because they can prioritize themselves on the same rank, because they'll have their own kids to worry about on the top rank. They will understand each other. This is a very simple situation. It's just like a lot of nurses say, oh, it's easier to date another nurse. A lot of cops say it's easier to date another cop. A lot of firefighters say it's easier to date another firefighter. Doctors, same thing. Why? Because you share experiences, and because those experiences, other people can't understand them. And that's the same with being a parent. Unless you're a parent, you don't understand. And that's just like normal being human. And there's no fault in that. It just is. So unless you're a seriously special person and seriously selfless, it's going to be extremely difficult to go into a situation where it's a single parent and willing to feel like you're not being taken care of from time to time, because the kids have to come first. That's a huge hot take, huge explanation. But overall, that is how I think, in vast majority of cases, single parents should just date each other because they understand each other. Moving on. After a divorce, you've gone through something serious, okay? And you can't just go through something that serious and just move on to the next person, because you're just bound to make the same mistakes. Now, I'm not saying that everybody makes a mistake in a relationship, but it takes two to tango. And even if you were cheated on, I'm sure that there were things that you could have done to be better in the relationship. That doesn't give them the right to cheat. That doesn't mean that it's an excuse for them to cheat. I'm just saying, nobody's perfect. So, the first thing that I think a lot of people after divorce need to do is to do some self-reflection. Okay? Especially you ladies. You need to reflect why my relationship didn't work out. Maybe you're going to have to take a little bit of accountability for it. Even if it's 1%, 5%, 10%, whatever the case may be. But when it comes to the breaking down of a relationship, it's usually never one-sided. Of course it can be, but it's usually never entirely one-sided. I don't want anybody to feel guilty about ending a relationship because of cheating, because of abuse, or anything like that. You should not feel guilty, but nobody's perfect. So, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, why did my relationship end up the way it is? What was my part in that situation going sour? Was I the perfect partner? Was I even close to the perfect partner? Or was I a handful? Was I terrible? Did I not meet their needs? Did I not even, treat them nicely? Like, there's a lot of questions that could be answered when it comes to how a relationship can end. So I just think self-reflection is a huge part of growth, of personal growth. And I think that when you go through a relationship, especially like a marriage, where I know it's long-term usually, there's going to be some trauma, there's going to be some baggage, there's going to be some things that you don't fully understand. And just to jump into another relationship is terrible, because you have zero understanding of what happened beforehand in the other relationship, that you're just going all willy-nilly with no prep or nothing. Like, come on. So, for the vast majority of you, I would consider, and potentially consider getting therapy. Talking it out with a therapist, a relationship counselor, just to say, hey, this is what happened, this is what was going on. And, you gotta have to be honest about yourself in these sessions. You gotta set your ego aside and say, you know what, maybe I wasn't the best partner because I worked long hours constantly. Maybe I wasn't the best partner because, I was overly flirtatious with my neighbor, and my husband or wife didn't appreciate that, and whatever the case may be. I'm just making examples. But therapy in a nice, safe space is going to help you understand what went wrong so that you don't make that same mistake in the future. All right? That's the whole point of this channel, is to better ourselves over time. There are plenty of red flags before the divorce even happens. And we tend to ignore those red flags because we're in love, because, we want to hope that they will be resolved because this, that, or whatever. You need to learn how to spot the red flags, and you need to learn whether or not those red flags are waving big enough to be a deal breaker. You need to understand, are these red flags something that I can deal with, I can cope with, and if they get better, if they get worse, how will I react? So these are things you need to consider before you jump right into another relationship. And when you do get into another relationship, you need to spot them and react accordingly. You can't just keep your rose-colored glasses on where everything is gray and expect to be successful again. It just doesn't work like that. Relationships are hard. They require a lot of work. They require a lot of attention, okay? A lot of management. And you gotta be transparent in these sessions with your partner, with life, with yourself. Look, we can't sit here and lie to ourselves about who we are, about who we want, about, our future, these things. If we do, nothing good comes of it. Just lying to ourselves, saying everything is going to be fine, everything is going to get better, and I don't need to do anything, I don't need to change this, that, or whatever. It's not a good thing to do. So transparency is key. Be open and honest with yourself. Be open and honest with your partner. Be open and honest with your therapist, okay? Listen, guys, it's hard. It's very hard sometimes to do that, but we do need to understand to shelve our egos aside and just be more vulnerable and get the answers that will make you a better person. That's all I want for my subscribers, is make yourself better. Make yourself happier. You need to let go of a lot of crap in your life that's making you miserable and focus on things that you can change, especially things you can change about yourself. Okay? And I think that's where I'm going to end this episode, is just work on yourselves, guys, before you try to link up with another person. Because once you link up with another person, the complexities, the dynamics, it's just so much more difficult to work on yourself. All right? Good luck, Godspeed, and I'll see you in the next one. Well, that's it for this episode, guys. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button, and leave your comments below. Until the next time, cheers.